Hey everyone, so in this video, I wanted to talk about some common credit card mistakes that beginners seem to make the most when they're just getting started with credit cards. Now, we see so many ads on TV and social media, and we even still get a lot of offers in the mail because the fact is that credit card companies are willing to pay a lot of money to acquire new customers through advertising, through welcome bonus offers, and through many other tactics as well. And for people that have been in the world of credit cards for a while, like myself, we know about all these things, and we just try to stick to some solid financial habits. That way we actually can come out ahead of these credit card companies. But others that are more of beginners with credit cards could get left behind and hurt their credit score or their budget in pretty meaningful ways if they're not careful about the 6 mistakes that we're going to talk about here in this video. So let's get right into it here with the first mistake that people can easily make when they're just getting started with credit cards and learning about all the cool things that they can do with cash back and travel, and that is applying for too many cards at once. Now, this is a very easy mistake to make because there's so many good sign-up bonus offers out there, even for no annual fee credit cards, that it feels like it's a no-brainer just to apply for as many of these offers as possible. But with credit cards, you need to be patient because there's gonna be this big 3-digit number that'll be linked to you forever called your credit score, and you always need to be aware of this number. So when you apply for a new credit card, typically what that card issuer is going to do is something called a hard inquiry, which is basically where that credit card company just takes a look at your credit report as a part of the application process after you've clicked submit on that application. These hard inquiries are then going to show up on your credit report, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They're going to stay on that report for about 2 years, but after a few months, they won't have much of an impact to your credit score at all. Now, when it comes to how hard inquiries affect your credit score, this is going to fall under the new credit category, which is a factor that impacts only about 10% of your score. Essentially, hard inquiries are just a way to show potential lenders, or really anyone else that wants to take a look at your credit score, how often you're applying for new credit, because if you're applying too often for new credit, that could be seen as a red flag and a little bit riskier, since it may mean that you're taking on too much debt too quickly. And this leads me to the first mistake that beginners make. So since beginners with credit cards typically have a very limited credit history, or maybe bad credit in the first place, applying for too many cards too quickly leads to too many hard inquiries over a short period of time. Then with all those hard inquiries showing up, your credit score will likely see a notable drop, and that can make it tougher to get approved for newer credit cards in the future, and it also can impact your ability to get approved for the best interest rates on things like car loans, mortgages, or other things like that. So if you have a really good credit score and a longer credit history, then you probably don't have to wait as long between credit card applications. I think the shortest period of time that I personally had between applications was about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months between when I got approved for my Chase Sapphire Preferred and then my Chase Freedom Unlimited. But if you're newer to credit cards, have a lower credit score, or a limited credit history, then you probably want to take it slow and wait maybe 6 to 12 months between applications just to play it safe. Everyone has their own situation and what works best for them, so some people are going to say you don't have to wait this long between applications. Me personally, I do like to play it safe and not rush my applications, so none of the information in this video is financial advice. You just need to do your own research. There's also certain specific rules that you need to consider across different credit card issuers, like the famous Chase 524 rule, which says that you will not be approved for any new Chase credit cards if you've opened 5 or more personal credit cards across all issuers in the past 24 months. So the point is, if you're a beginner with credit cards, just get one simple, no annual fee credit card to start, use it responsibly, pay it off on time and in full every single month for several months, and then reevaluate from there. And this leads me to mistake number 2, which also goes along with applying for new credit cards, and that is getting the wrong cards, especially early on in your credit card journey. There's gonna be a lot of cards out there, and like I said, with all the constant ads and mail offers that we receive, sometimes it can be tempting to apply for a new credit card just because that offer seems good at first. I mean, it is the job of the credit card company to sell you on their product and make it sound good, but that doesn't mean that it's the best option for you. You also need to take into consideration something called opportunity cost, which is a pretty basic concept, and it applies to almost any financial decision that we make. Basically, if you go with one option, what are you giving up by not going with another, possibly better option instead? So for example, I like to talk about something like the Apple Card versus the Chase Freedom Unlimited as an easy way to think about this type of thing. Now, I explained this example in a little bit more detail in my Apple Card review video, but basically, assuming that you can get approved for both of these credit cards, the Apple Card might seem a little bit more appealing at first because it gets you 2% back on everything with Apple Pay, whereas the Chase Freedom Unlimited only gets you 1.5% back on everything. But the Chase Freedom Unlimited typically has a welcome bonus offer of at least $200, whereas the Apple Card typically has no welcome bonus offer. So right there, by choosing the Apple Card over the Freedom Unlimited, your opportunity cost up front is going to be $200 due to that lack of a welcome bonus. Plus, like I mentioned before, there is that Chase 524 rule that you want to think about. So generally, if you're just getting started with credit cards and you're looking to get more cards in the future and you really want to maximize your value, you're going to want to start with Chase cards and prioritize those first before getting other credit cards from other credit card issuers, because you could always get those later. So opportunity cost is a big thing to think about, but you also want to be thinking about annual fees as well. Now, usually annual fee credit cards are going to be a little bit tougher to get approved for as a beginner, but lately I have been seeing more and more people getting approved with a fairly short credit history to get these credit cards that are more premium and have better benefits. But I personally do not think that it's a good idea to go for these annual fee credit cards right away as a beginner, even if you are able to get approved. What I would do is I would have a plan, start out with an easy card to get, like maybe the Discover It card, which has no annual fee. Then after a year or so of using that, go over to a Chase card like the Freedom Flex or the Freedom Unlimited. Use those three cards maybe for a year or two, build up your credit score, and then look at annual fee cards if it makes sense for you. What I would recommend and what I would do in that type of plan is I would go for the Chase Sapphire Preferred at only $95 per year to create that Chase trifecta, which is such a great setup. I've made plenty of other videos here on my channel talking about that setup, those Chase cards, as well as some other good cards that you can consider as a beginner. So make sure to go check those out after watching this video and subscribe as well for more content just like this. Along with the mistake of not getting the right credit cards at first, I also want to add that in the future, if you do decide that travel credit cards are right for you, then I would highly recommend that you start by getting cards that earn flexible points currencies, such as those offered by Chase, American Express, Citi, Capital One, and others, because those credit cards with flexible points currencies are going to give you more redemption options, which is very, very valuable in today's world. Other credit cards that only earn one type of points or miles for one specific hotel chain or airline, those credit cards are going to be much more limiting, so it's definitely something to be aware of. I still mainly focus on Chase and American Express credit cards right now because of this reason. I like to have that points flexibility with my redemption options, and I know that I can always get those hotel and airline credit cards later on if I want to. Okay, now for the next two mistakes, I'm going to kind of group them together to talk about them because they both have to do with spending, and these two mistakes are going to be maxing out your credit card and not treating your credit card as cash. I always had this instinct from the start to treat my credit cards like cash and only use them to pay for something if I already had at least that same amount set aside in a separate bank account in cash. That way I could pay off that credit card balance in full completely if I wanted to, whenever. But many other people just don't make the same connection at first. They might see that a bank gives them a $5,000 credit limit, and then they think they could just borrow against that credit limit whenever they want to and not have to worry about paying that back until later. They don't really think about how or when they're going to pay that back. This is something that most credit card companies are counting on when they issue their cards to people that don't take the time to understand them. These companies know that if there's a leftover balance at the end of the month that people don't pay in full, they're going to be able to charge them between 15 to 25% interest on average, which is very, very high, and that is just easy profit that goes back into the pockets of these companies. I explained the whole process of paying your credit card bill to avoid interest in another recent video that I did, so go check that out if you want to after watching this. But credit cards are a very dangerous form of borrowing money, and they can be an expensive way to fund your life if you don't pay that money back in time. So only use credit cards if you know that you're going to treat them like cash and pay off your credit card balances on time and in full every single month by the payment due date. Otherwise, the 15 to 25% interest that you'll be charged for carrying over a statement balance to the next month, that is going to far outweigh any of the 1 to 5% cash back or travel points that you might earn with any of those cards. Maxing out a credit card also goes along with this because, like I said, a lot of times people will see that they're given a certain credit limit and then they think they can use that entire credit limit completely if they want to, but that is the wrong way to think. That's because using up too much of your available credit limit at one time is going to increase your credit utilization, which is another thing that we've talked about here on this channel. Your credit utilization is one of the two most important factors affecting your credit score, along with payment history, and credit utilization is going to impact about 30% of that score. Credit utilization is simply the balance on a credit card divided by the credit limit for that card. So for example, if you had a credit limit of $5,000 and then a balance of $100, that is going to be a 2% credit utilization, which is actually a good thing because that's very low and it shows that you're responsible with the amount of credit that you've been given. But if you really like to spend and you end up with a balance of $4,000, maybe you went shopping, maybe you bought your family's groceries for the month or something like that, that is going to be a credit utilization of 80%, which is too high and likely going to negatively impact your credit score if that amount gets reported to the credit bureaus. So you want to be aware of your credit card balances relative to your credit limits on each card, as well as combined across all of your cards, because credit utilization is going to be looked at in both ways. But basically, when it comes down to not maxing out your credit cards and treating your credit cards like cash, the most important thing to do is stick to a budget, stay organized, and understand your spending habits very well. Maybe I'm a little bit weird with my money, but I actually look forward to budgeting and updating my expenses every Sunday morning because I just feel more comfortable knowing knowing where every one of my dollars is going. I've always believed that the more visibility we have over our financial information, the better off we will be over the long term when it comes to building wealth and sticking to the right money habits. All right, now moving on to credit card mistake number 5 here, and this is going to be another marketing trick used by credit card companies to get new customers in the door, so it's definitely something to be careful of, and that is going to be 0% APR offers. So 0% interest for maybe 12 months sounds good, right? You can carry a balance, you only have to pay a small minimum payment amount each month, and you pay $0 in interest. But I personally never take advantage of these offers for a couple of reasons. First, whether it's 0% interest or 25% interest, it's still debt and you still have to pay it back eventually. Even if you are taking advantage of a 0% offer to pay for a larger one-time expense like a vacation or a new TV or piece of furniture or something, maybe that does sound nice, paying it off in monthly payments over the next year instead of all at once. But you need to ask yourself if that purchase is even worth it in the first place if you can't afford to pay for it all in cash up front, because now you're going to have an extra monthly payment that is going to decrease your monthly cash flow. And if you're not careful and you miss a payment, then you could see your interest rate shoot up and then you'll be in a bad situation. But second, you also need to consider credit utilization again, because remember, as a beginner with credit cards, you're likely going to have lower overall credit limits. So even if you do carry a balance and it's costing you 0% in interest, that balance could be causing you to have a higher credit utilization, which generally we want to keep below 10% as a rule of thumb. So while paying 0 interest during an intro period might sound good, it could hurt your credit score and it could cost you a ton in interest down the road if you miss a payment or if you don't pay off your balance in full by the time that intro period ends. And because of those things, I would just stay away from 0% offers as a beginner with credit cards. Again, just get no annual fee cards to start. Use them responsibly by putting all your everyday spending on those cards, pay it off on time and in full every single month, and then go from there. And if you can't do these things, then I would think about not using credit cards at all. I know that there's people out there that take advantage of these 0% intro offers to do a strategic balance transfer, to transfer over their high interest credit card debt to a 0% card. That way they can pay it off a little bit easier in the short term. That might be good for some people, but again, this video is just for general purposes. I know that everyone else has their own situation, but this is supposed to be just for beginners. So I suggest that you stick to the basics, pay off your credit card balance on time and in full every single month, and you'll be good to go. Okay, now finally, for the last mistake here in this video, we're gonna talk about something that is so simple, but so easily overlooked by many people out there, and that mistake is closing a no annual fee credit card. So with your credit score, the length of your credit history is another smaller factor that accounts for about 15% of that score. And since I already talked about the fact that as beginners, we should really be focusing on getting no annual fee credit cards first, it's going to be those no annual fee cards that are going to be our longest age of credit accounts. I have my oldest credit card account with Wells Fargo from a college card that I opened up back in 2016 when I was a junior at Penn State, and since then I really haven't used that card much anymore because it doesn't offer me much in terms of cash back or rewards or other benefits, but it is still a no annual fee card and costs me nothing each year to keep open, while it still continues to positively impact my credit score each year by being my oldest account. All I have to do to keep it open is really use it once or twice a year on a small purchase here or there just to keep the card active. So I definitely recommend for anyone else out there in a similar situation to do the same thing and keep your oldest no annual fee card open. Some people say, oh, I don't use that card anymore, so there's really no point in keeping it around. I might as well just close it. But when you do close that credit card account, that is going to eventually erase all the credit history that's associated with it. Now, a closed card will not drop off your credit report immediately. It'll still stay on the report for another 7 to 10 years, but if it's costing you nothing each year in terms of an annual fee, then there's literally no point in closing it. But when it comes to annual fee cards, that might be a little bit different because, for example, if you have a $695 annual fee on the Amex Platinum and you decide that that card's not worth it anymore, I would cancel it in that situation because there's no point in paying nearly $700 per year just to keep an account open. But always make sure that you double check before closing an annual fee credit card account, because sometimes there might be a downgrade option into a no annual fee card while still keeping the same account open. When we look at the Sapphire Preferred at $95 per year or the Sapphire Reserve at $550 per year from Chase, those two cards have downgrade options into no annual fee cards with the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited. So you could keep the same account open while also eliminating the annual fee. So that's really a win-win situation for you. So really think before you open up a credit card with an annual fee and make sure that there's a downgrade option, because if not, you might have to close the account and eliminate all that credit history from your report over time. Otherwise, if it's just a no annual fee credit card, then I say you just keep it open forever. But let me know down in the comment section below what other credit card mistakes I forgot to include here in this video. Let me know if you have any interesting stories from when you were a beginner with credit cards, because I'm sure there's a lot of mistakes that others can learn from as well. And if you watched this video all the way until now, then I definitely recommend recommend you check out these other 2 videos that I'll put on the screen right now, where I explain the 2 most important credit score factors to think about with your credit score, as well as how to pay your credit card bill on time, because those videos will go into a lot more detail about some of the things that I referenced in this video. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go ahead and tap the like button and subscribe down below, and go ahead and even share this video with a credit card beginner that you might know. But I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.